We have a lot of very interesting updates today, so let's get started. Before we begin, I would like to point out that, based on the number of updates we've seen throughout the day, we can conclude that the Russians have launched a major offensive. This offensive is very powerful, perhaps not as strong as the one we witnessed in October 2023, when the Russians initiated their large-scale assault in the Avdiivka direction, but it is still an extremely significant and intense operation. We have started receiving updates from the Ukrainian side that confirm a completely opposite situation. For example, by the end of January 29, Russian sources published a video showing an attack on positions in the southwestern part of the settlement. Based on this video, we adjusted the contested area in Ukraine's favor. This episode shows the Russians attacking Ukrainian positions. On January 30, we received another video, also published by the Russian side, from the central part of Nedenka. Based on this video, we further adjusted the map in Ukraine's favor. In this footage, we see a similar situation, Russian forces withdrawing from the edge of Ukrainian positions in the northwestern part of the settlement. This indicates that heavy clashes are still ongoing in Nedenka, and the previous reports from a few days ago claiming Russian control over the settlement were nothing more than wishful thinking. Now, let's move on to the Bakhmut direction. For the first time since the battle for Bakhmut city, we have received very little information about the territory between Chasiv Yar and Bakhmut. There was only a small update from pro-Russian sources, reporting minor advancements along the railways and a single video showing Ukrainian forces counterattacking in the southeastern part of Klishchivka. Russian forces detected Ukrainian vehicles moving toward Klishchivka, and an FPV drone successfully damaged and destroyed one of them. Overall, this is just routine battlefield activity. However, one important detail from this video is the weather. Despite this being a regular battle update, the footage provides valuable information about current conditions. The sky is completely clear, and the weather is unusually warm for this time of year. Currently, Ukraine is experiencing anomalous temperatures, which are highly unusual not just for recent history but possibly for centuries, or even thousands of years. It is almost unbelievable that January has been so warm. As you can clearly see on the screen, the sky is clear, and the weather is favorable, allowing Russian forces to launch full-scale offensive operations. As a result, we see Ukrainian forces collapsing along the entire front line. Moving on to the Tavria direction, we have received significant updates. After a long operational pause and numerous Ukrainian counterattacks in the northern sector, during which Ukraine regained control over several areas, Russian forces renewed their offensive. With the arrival of good weather, Russian troops launched a new wave of attacks. Over the past few days, Russian forces have improved their positions in Mine itself. We have adjusted the map accordingly, reflecting changes in the settlement of Kursk. The battle for Kursk is nearing its conclusion, and it is highly likely that the Russian Ministry of Defense will announce victory in the coming days. However, by early February, the weather is expected to change dramatically, with temperatures dropping below -16 degrees C. Despite this, such conditions are still favorable for a Russian offensive. At sub-zero temperatures, tanks can advance across frozen fields, making it easier to attack. For Russian forces, the only truly bad weather is when temperatures hover around 0 degrees C, causing muddy terrain that makes movement difficult. Now, let's discuss the Chervona direction, where the battle is also nearing its end. According to our latest reports, Russian forces have launched their final assault in this sector. They are attacking along the entire front line, using a broad front offensive strategy. Pro-Ukrainian sources confirm that several more Ukrainian strongholds in the forest area have been captured. Just before we started recording, a very reliable pro-Russian mapping source reported that Russian forces had broken through Ukrainian defenses and entered the microdistrict of Shchastia. Summarizing all the available pro-Russian sources, these are the territories captured by Russian forces in the past 24 hours. If this information is accurate, it means that the final battle for Chervona has begun. The central citadel of the city has been completely encircled by Russian forces, eliminating any possibility of Ukrainian forces retreating. This is the current situation, and we are now waiting for further updates, especially from this area. Now, let's move on to the Svatov direction, where Russian forces have managed to break through Ukraine's defensive lines in the eastern part of Verkhnokamiensk. This conclusion is based on a video published by the Russian side. In the footage, we see Russian forces launching an offensive towards the eastern sector of Verkhnokamiensk, using a heavily armored tank that is almost impervious to Ukrainian drones. Despite Ukrainian attempts to destroy this vehicle, it remained undamaged, proving highly resistant to their attacks. The Russians managed to push through the entire territory and land infantry in the eastern part of the settlement. Once again, we see that behind the tank, there were several motorcycles moving, possibly using additional equipment. The Russians landed in this sector, taking control of several buildings, which is very important. As you can see, the Ukrainians counterattacked, but this part of Verkhnokamiensk was completely cleared and secured. Currently, we do not know for sure what is happening with those Ukrainian forces trapped in the most eastern part of Verkhnokamiensk. Perhaps they have been caught in a cauldron. If they have indeed been surrounded, then they have no chance of evacuation and no way to escape from this area. It will likely take the Russians 2 or 3 days to secure and fully clear the eastern part. Once that is complete, they will begin advancing further west. The most important point is that if the Russians reach the western part of Verkhnokamiensk and the western outskirts of the settlement, it will mark the beginning of the battle for the city of Chasiv Yar. This is probably the most anticipated and most difficult battle, which is expected to take place during the spring military campaign. Now, let's discuss the Kupiansk direction. In the past 24 hours, as you can see, we have received numerous updates, mostly regarding Russian attacks on Ukrainian vehicles and artillery systems using drones and other weapons. However, there have been no significant changes on the ground. Regarding the Sumy direction, in the past 24 hours, Russian forces have been bombing and attacking the city of Sumy. The goal is to destroy Ukrainian temporary deployment points, as well as Ukrainian reserves and reinforcements that could be used in the Sumy direction. As for the Sudza direction, according to various sources, the Russians have improved their positions along the border. Currently, everything within this red line is under complete Russian control. Right before we started recording, multiple sources reported that Russian forces broke through Ukrainian positions in the western part of Sika. It is also possible that everything inside the red line was captured by the Russians in the past 24 hours. Summarizing all the information, the battle for Sudza has started. Clashes and fighting are already taking place within the settlement. We are now awaiting additional details and updates. If this information is confirmed and if the Russians capture the village of Sudza, then, as you can see, there will be no further obstacles preventing them from attacking Sumy from the southwest. This could cause significant problems for the Ukrainians. According to our available data and reports from the Russian Ministry of Defense, the situation for Ukrainian forces is critical. Over the past 6 months, Ukraine's monthly sanitary and irreplaceable losses have consistently exceeded 50,000 personnel. January 2025, 52,000. December 2024, 48,000. November 2024, 60,000. At the same time, the number of recruits entering Ukrainian training centers, even with the activation of territorial recruitment offices across the country, has only been around 30,000 per month for about half a year. These new recruits are being sent to the front lines with inadequate training, leading to a decline in the overall strength of the Ukrainian armed forces. According to official data, around 100,000 Ukrainian servicemen have deserted their military units and gone into hiding. As you can see, the front line is collapsing. Under pressure from Western countries, the Kyiv government has introduced legislative changes, lowering the mobilization age from 25 to 18. This is the only option left for Zelensky to delay the collapse of the front in Donbass for a few more months. This is the official statement from the Russian Ministry of Defense, and as you can see, the situation for Ukrainian forces is extremely difficult. Now, Ukraine will lower the mobilization age, but the primary goal is to hold the lines for as long as possible during the negotiation process. However, something tells me that things may not unfold according to Ukraine's plans. That's it for today. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel, leave a like, and have a good day. Bye-bye.